Let's take a look at developing models that are quadratic. Okay, so we got these data points and want to find the quadratic model. Okay, so on our calculator, now this is our x and this is our y. I want to go into my apps, and then I want to go into data matrix editor. I do 6. And I'm going to choose new because I don't have this sum in here yet. So do 3 for new. You're just choosing the number that's in front of it. And we want data, so that's fine there. Main's fine. Here's our variable name, and I never can tell when the alpha lock is on. I'll assume it's not on, and I'm going to choose A. I probably got defined. Let me try A though. I'll choose the equals, and it put an A. And now let me press enter. And enter again. Okay, and that brings it up. Okay, so we're going to put our x values in C1. So I got 1 through 7. So 1 enter, 2 enter, 3 enter, 4 enter, 5 enter, 6 enter, and 7 enter. I want to right arrow over to C2, and then I'm going to up arrow to go to my first entry. Right there, and I got 5 enter, 17 enter, 31 enter, 32 enter, 23 enter, 5 enter, and 1 enter. Let me go up and double check these. 7165, 523, 432, 331, 217, 15. Okay, well, I'm going to go up to, let me do F5 for calc. It asks me for calculation type, so I press my right arrow key, and then I want a down arrow until I find the quadratic regression, number 9, and then press enter. Now we need to tell it where we put our x values, so a down arrow, and I want to tell it C1. I'm assuming my alpha locks on, so I just do the closing parentheses, and I did put a C on there. And then 1, and that's no good. So I shut off the alpha lock, 1. Then I'll down arrow to y, and we put our y values in C2. So I don't know if my alpha lock's on. Let me do a, okay, no it's not. Clear alpha, close parentheses, and then 2. And down arrow, store regression equation 2, and you can do a right arrow, and then you can choose y1. So that'll store directly to y1. And I press enter on that. Use frequency categories, I'll say no on that. So I'll just go ahead and press enter. And it'll come up with this. And then for my, come over here. For our quadratic model, we usually represent that by y hat. We plug in our a here. A is what's for x squared, so it's negative 3.1. If I take it 2 decimal places, negative 3.1 x squared. B is 23.19, so plus 23.19x. And I got some extra garbage I drew on here. There we go. And then C is negative 14.57. So negative 14.57. And that would be our model. Now, you notice it gives you R squared. That's to help you indicate how good is the model. And closer to that is the 1, the better. So I'll do enter on OK. Now if I exit out, so I'll do second escape to quit. If I go to my y equals, diamond F1, notice what it put here. It put the equation here, plugged everything in. It didn't even round it for me. So now if I wanted to look at the graph of that, I'll do diamond F3, and that gives us our model. And then we can do different things with that. We can find, the maximum, the vertex, and so forth based upon the data. A lot of different functions. You can find your x-intercepts, which might indicate like a break-even point. It's hard to say. It varies depending on what the application would be. Now do second escape to exit out. We're not going to go into a whole lot of depth on this. This is more of a statistics function. But if you're wanting to incorporate real-world data into your class, you can do this. Now, that's not saying that every one of those data points fits into that model. This is the quadratic function that gives you the least amount of error. That's all that's saying. If the r squared had been 1 with no rounding, then it'd be perfect. Every point would fall on that. That's how to develop a quadratic model on a TI-89 calculator. But one other thing I want to show you, I almost forgot. Let me go into the data again. So if I go into Apps, I choose Data Matrix Editor. If I'm creating a new one and I already have one named that, so if I do 3 for new, and data is fine, down arrow to variable, and let me put a in. So I do equals, and then press enter. Enter again. It says variable flash application use. That's because we already have one set up for that name. If I do escape again. If you already have one set up with that name and you want to change it, then you go into your apps, data matrix editor, 6, I'm choosing a number that's in front of it, and I do an open instead of a new. So 2 for open, and data, and now if I down arrow to variable, you see I have a here. It's not smart like it's guessing which one I want. If you do a right arrow key, it lists all the ones you have defined. See, I got A and D. So you just do an enter on A and then enter again, and that'll bring up your old list, and then you can start changing it. And again, exit out, you do second escape. That's a quadratic model on a TI-89 calculator.